Lee, welcome back to the show. We've got an old school style broadcast here along the lines of High Dive, and we're going to be looking at this, hard to believe, second assassination attempt in just 2 months. How are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty well, Justin. How are you?
I'm very well. It's good to see you again. And for people who have been just tuning in to Crowdsource the Truth, maybe haven't seen you that much before, we got to remind people that Lee is a stroke survivor. So please don't send me rude messages saying, oh, the guest is drunk. Lee is one of the most informed people on the complex situation that's been going on in Ukraine. It's really heating up now, isn't it, Lee?
It sure is. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. The war is coming to an, I mean, the war is effectively over, I will say. It's not, but whether Ukraine acknowledges that or the Western backers, like the US and the UK, is another story. But militarily, the war is over. There's no way Ukraine. And Zelensky is coming to town, Washington, next week with his victory plan. But there's no victory plan. There's no way they can win. I go into that, but it's a much smaller country, and they've suffered massive losses after the invasion of Russia a few weeks ago. And so there's just no way. So it's an interesting point with the war. And
what was that? There was a huge explosion there the other day. That was like a weapons depot or something. They had some drone that exploded something. What was that?
I'm not sure, that kind of stuff is always going on. So now, by the way, not to be contrary, but I'm want to call this an assassination attempt. I don't know that. Now, what I'll say is there was an event and there was somebody there with a gun, right? And a GoPro.
Yeah.
We know that. But I didn't see the assassination attempt part. Like, it's not like he shot and missed or shot.
I mean, he wasn't there with a birthday present. The guy's hiding in the bushes with a gun. We can presume he was going to shoot somebody, right?
Well, you can presume that, but I prefer not to. Let me tell you why. If you think about it, there was no assassination attempt, and the gun that he had was not an effective gun to use from that range as a weapon. And we'll talk about the propaganda aspect of this. But I think it's worth it saying, what if the goal of this thing that happened was not to assassinate Trump, but to make it look like someone was going to assassinate Trump? What if that was the goal?
Well, it's an interesting concept. I mean, I've heard other people say things along those lines, that it's about intimidating and making everybody kind of stir everybody up into a January 6th kind of mentality so that there's another event that they can then say, oh, look at all these MAGA people, let's arrest them.
Well, see, the GoPro camera being there, by the way, it's not the specific GoPro camera, but a camera being there indicates to me that this is a propaganda operation to some extent. Now, by the way, it's possible it's this guy's personal propaganda, but I mean, you have the camera there so you can take pictures of you shooting, right? Or make it look like you're going to do that. And so,
we also had that happen. Remember, there was that big incident in Christchurch, New Zealand, where that guy went into the mosque and shot everybody up and was live streaming it?
Yes, but GoPros don't live stream, do they?
Oh, yeah, sure they do. They just came out with a new one that has all kinds of live streaming stuff built in.
I wonder if this one. So again, it's possible, but it's possible who's going to record it. But when I started to go, okay, what if this were not an assassination? Because again, literally, there was no attempt. Let me say that. I'm not being persnickety or contrary, but an attempt would be he shot, he missed, or shot, whatever. I don't see an attempt. There was an event where a person certainly looked like they were going to carry out assassination attempt. But when I try to be really factual and objective about this, I saw an event and I started thinking to myself, okay, what else could it be? Now, you gave one explanation. By the way, I'm just saying, I think it's worth asking, what if the goal were not to assassinate Trump? What if this event had another goal? Let me give you an obvious one. Did you see Donald Trump on Greg Gutfeld last night?
I did, yeah. Gave him a
Okay.
nice wrestling belt from Tyrus.
No, it was a good appearance. I like Gutfeld. And but did you hear Trump talking about the Secret Service?
I didn't watch the whole thing, to tell you the truth. I was going to do that tonight. What did he say? He's praising the Secret Service, and I got some issues with the Secret Service.
Well, yeah. So do you know who else had issues with the Secret Service? Everybody. So after Butler, I mean, there were congressional hearings, and
Right.
morning of this thing, the 15th, what was Melania doing?
I don't know. She made a video saying that they're trying to kill him and everything, but that was days ago, I think.
No, right. And on the 15th, she said, where's the investigation? She was complaining about the lack of investigation. And it's a good question. Okay, now, again, I know you follow news, Jason, so it's not a gotcha. But what I'm saying is that thing that Melania talked about in the morning, it didn't clock with you and it went off the news radar completely. And in fact, so what I'm saying is before this event, the Secret Service was not looking good. Fair to say?
Yep.
After this event, Trump himself is singing their praises, right?
Right, because he said he saw the guy in the bushes and took a shot from the barrel sticking out, and he stopped anything from happening. You're right. He was very positive about them.
So asking you the cui bono question of who benefits from this. By the way, this is Melania talking about her nude photos, so, watch
I'm
out.
sure they're better than mine.
Yeah. Well, parenthetically, I'll say, I think Melania's taking the right thing. She didn't do anything wrong as far as I'm concerned. And people making a big deal of that, whatever, it's a thing. But she's not lying about it, hiding it. She's owning it.
Right.
Makes sense?
Right.
So, but I'm saying this is one possible thing. Now, for sure, the Secret Service is looking better, right? I'm not saying that was motivation, but for instance, I think it's one possible explanation, right?
I
What
agree.
I'm asking people to explore this, and not just us. Someone needs to investigate what really happened here. Now, I don't think we'll get that. Now, let's think of another possibility. Have you heard, I don't know if you heard this, but you follow the news pretty well. Have you heard that Democrats don't like guns?
Exactly. Yeah, yes.
Okay, now think about this, Jason. And you heard them talk about, assault weapons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the AK-47.
Right. You don't really
So
see
let's say-
AK-47s in the United States that much, Lee. Isn't it difficult to get ammunition for an AK-47 because it's not a NATO round in there?
Right, and also, so I'm not a gun guy because I'm blind in one eye, but I don't think you are. But let me ask you, from what you know about guns, what is better image for, let's say you're shooting footage, an AK-47 or a rifle?
Well, I mean,
What-
an AK-47 is a rifle, isn't it?
No, but like a long rifle, like a sniper rifle.
Maybe an AK-40. Well, I think a sniper rifle looks scarier to me.
But what puts on a better show?
I don't know.
I think the
AK-47.
AK. I think the AK, louder, noisier.
It just sprays, right?
Right. But what if you're 400 yards away? What's a better weapon?
Yeah, no, this is not accurate. AK-47 is famous for being cheap, manufactured all over the world in places that aren't NATO countries, and just cheap.
And also the muzzle velocity is known to fall off after, I think, 300 or 350 yards. But there's a lot of problems with it. It's not accurate, but it does put on a better show. You see what I'm saying? A sniper rifle just boom. It might be suppressed.
Do you want to hear the AI overview, Lee? This might be interesting for people to hear.
Sure.
The AK-47 is considered one of the deadliest weapons ever created. and is still prevalent today. It's known for its firepower, ease of production and use, and the ability to carry a lot of ammunition. However, the original AK-47s were heavy and not designed for aiming. Wow, that sounds bad, to have an extremely dangerous gun that you can't aim well.
Right. So again, from the range that person was at, 400 yards, the AK is a bad choice. A sniper rifle is a better choice, but not as good a show, not as flashy and not as noisy. Nothing about it. It's a better show. But if you're trying to get a weapon like the AK-47 banned, right? Like if you're trying to grab guns, right? That's a weapon to have. And furthermore, a lot of those long rifles, they're going to be hard to ban because people.
Yeah, it has a purpose, hunting and stuff.
Right. And also, they hold less rounds generally. So what I'm saying is, if you were trying to ban guns, a guy from about 4 feet away with a GoPro, with an AK, suddenly, let's say even the attempt was made. I'll go back to, well, even if the attempt wasn't made, but even if the attempt was made at Trump, and someone, Bernie Sanders, AOC, held up an AK-47 and said, we must ban this weapon. This weapon, I dare you Republicans, go ahead, say we can't ban the weapon that was used to try to assassinate Donald Trump. Go ahead. Come on, right? You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
there was a great prima facie case to, take that weapon out. Joe Biden would have said, well, no one needs all those rounds or whatever. Now, again, am I saying this is what happened? I'm not saying this is what happened, but I'm saying it's possible. I don't see, here's what I'm saying. What did I just say that I'm factually wrong about?
Well, people are arguing that it wasn't an AK-47, that it was an SKS. I'll tell you the truth, Lee, I haven't been digging into the details on this particular, there's just so many assassination incidents now. I'm staying focused more on the facts and details of the Butler one, but I had heard it was an AK-47. I mean, this is also, oh, look at that. It does say SKS style rifle. So I don't know, this seems pretty common, doesn't it? Even in the JFK assassination, it's well known that first they had a Mauser rifle, and then quickly that disappeared and it became famously this crappy rifle. Wait a minute, this is another parallel to the JFK, right? Everybody says, how could he have made that shot with this Mannlicher Carcano, hand thing, versus this Mauser, which was a very accurate German rifle. It's interesting, isn't it, Lee? It's this mixing of just confusion, really.
Yeah. And again, the camera shows me that there's some attempt to document it for some reason. So, to me, this isn't, no, I don't know the SK. But
people are saying, sorry to interrupt, it's virtually identical to an AK-47, and to a lay person that you would not be able to tell the difference, is what somebody just said.
And again, if I was a Democrat, I wouldn't try to ban the AK only, right?
Right.
Yeah,
it's rifles.
Ban assault weapons.
Yeah.
Whatever those are to a Democrat. Right. So my point here is there's nothing I'm saying that is factually, if the SK you found out, okay, it's the best weapon to use from 400 yards. That's the ideal weapon. I don't think you'll find that. And I don't think you'll find. So again, it's me trying to figure it out. Now, as you know, I'm working on a book about Ukraine. And the book about Ukraine ties in three things: Ukraine, the deep state, and Democrats. And I'm pointing out the history of that. And so knowing the history of the Ukraine, the deep state, and Democrats, look, is it possible those three groups combining try to not keep Trump from getting elected in 2016? Yes, it is. Okay. We know that the Ukrainian embassy was used. I've talked about this many times. The Ukrainian embassy was used to gather intelligence on Carter Page, but also a Democratic operative named Alexander Chalupa went to the Ukrainian embassy and tried to interfere in the election, right? And we saw that then tying that all together, the FBI was a big part of that. This is Andre.
Yeah, and we've spoken many times to our mutual friend Andrei Telezhenko about how he really has been treated terribly. I mean, this guy is a hero both for the United States and Ukraine, and just trying to do the right thing, and they really just skewered him.
When Chalupa came to him and tried to get him to dig up dirt on Trump, he didn't want to for two reasons. One, because it's illegal and wrong, right? That's a pretty good reason. But the other one was because he thought it would backfire on Ukraine.
He was right.
Right. So again, for moral reasons and practical reasons, I admire that actually. And so now, is it possible the Ukraine, the DNC, and the deep state combined in the 2020 election?
Yeah, I think they did.
Well, heard of the Hunter Biden laptop story?
Yeah.
Okay, that was about Ukraine. The deep state lied about it. I mean, the CIA, 5 former CIA directors said it's Russian disinfo, right?
Right. Yeah.
And, but the FBI had the laptop, and the FBI didn't speak up and say, no, we've got the laptop. And the Democrats. Also, during his administration, was Trump impeached by the Ukrainians, the deep state, and the DNC? Yes. So Eric Shermilla, the CIA official who claimed to be a whistleblower, Andre had met with Shermilla, who's a Ukraine guy, working at the Ukraine desk in the CIA. And Zelensky, the first impeachment was about supposedly Trump keeping the phone call with Ukraine. So I'm saying this group of people, the Ukrainians, the deep state, and the DNC, have combined numerous times to either keep Trump from getting elected or to take him out of office. Now, why? We can talk about some more if you want to, but I'm just saying, factually speaking, it's happened in 2016, it happened during his presidency, and it happened in 2020, right? So
Absolutely.
here we are in 2024, and I'm seeing Ukraine.
You know, you're right. This is an escalation. You're right. It's a pattern. This is a good point, Lee. I like where you're going with this. See, it's interesting. Lee does not come on a show and just start saying stuff, even if it sounds perhaps a little bit outrageous at first, like this is not an assassination attempt. I like how you're developing this here. Now, Lee, I forgot to ask you this before we began. Do you want to do just everything here on YouTube today, or are we going to go into a sponsor exclusive segment where people can join us on patreon.com/Stranahan and all the other sponsor channels?
Well, I don't think we'll need to today.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Because you don't have a lot of time. We'll just stick it here on YouTube and X and everything.
I'm going to talk about history, and I don't think it will get us in trouble because anyone can check it out. But who knows? No.
Well, wait a minute. No. We can't do who knows because I can't risk the challenge. But let's do this. Let's keep going for another 10 minutes, and then we will go over to Patreon and Subscribestar and Odyssey, and we'll continue there because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. This is a good topic, a broad topic. And you're right. This guy, Chiarmella, it's not that long ago that you just couldn't even mention this dude without getting struck. And who knows how they're going to change the rules. He's now at this Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. I find whenever they name something an endowment for international peace, it's like jerks like this trying to get a piece of every other nation. He's a terrible guy.
And a typical, I mean, the fact that you're right, you couldn't say his name for a while, and that automatically makes him not a whistleblower, because a whistleblower is someone who comes forward, right?
To tell the truth, right.
I work for this government, for this company, and I'm going to tell the truth, right? So, that was an operation. And I'm looking at what happened on September 15th as an operation. And all I'm trying to do is factually run down. No shots fired. That's all I'm saying. Just, and so my second possibility, the gun possibility, let me point out that also, would you need the gun to be fired in order for Democrats to say we should ban this gun? I don't
Well,
think so.
when it comes to Trump, they don't seem to be saying anything about banning. I don't think this is a real Eric Charmella Twitter right here. This is just nonsense. They aren't saying anything about banning guns when it comes to Trump. As a matter of fact, most of the Democrats regret that these things are failing.
And so, why? I don't know. I'm just saying, if they come out next week and start saying it, well, okay. But they haven't said it yet, but the gun wasn't fired. Now, I do think that the shots that came from the Secret Service did interrupt whatever was going on. Makes sense?
Yeah.
So, again, I don't know, but I'm trying to look at it just factually. Because here's one thing I know. The Ukrainians, the deep state, and the DNC have one other thing in common. They're liars, right? I don't take anything they say at face value.
They
So
have another
even-
thing in common. They want to kill Trump so they can continue to launder money through Ukraine and destroy Russia.
Well, I've seen evidence that they clearly don't want Trump in office. No, they want to kill him?
Well, any means necessary, I think. They're going to go for no Trump in office.
Yeah, right. The thing about actually killing someone is sometimes law enforcement you don't control gets involved. Like, let's say a sheriff in Palm Beach, right? That is not bought. That's a problem. Again, a lot of times when these groups have plans, right? Their plans don't work out. So
Right.
and murder is one of those things. Once you start killing people, there's all kinds of stuff that shows up. So again, I'm trying to really keep this for my own self very factual. I know things I know and can confirm. I'm not saying they're not trying to kill him, but I'm saying until I see but do I think they would ultimately? Sure,
Yeah.
that should be investigated. Because what I'm saying is, I think these things do need to be investigated. In fact, there's a commentator I like. I've interviewed him a number of times. I generally like him, Alexander McCoy from the Duran. You know Alexander, right? I mean, you've seen him.
Yep.
So he came out the day after this attempt, and he said, well, I'm not saying the Ukrainians are behind it. Okay, why are you saying? I'm just saying. I was yelling at my screen. I was saying, why are you saying that? What I'm saying is investigate, because it's not like impossible, right? Is it possible?
But was he being sarcastic, or because he sometimes is a little bit, right? He's got a way of
He was
presenting.
not being, well, he may have been trying to not get taken down.
Right.
It's possible he was saying stuff so
Tongue in cheek, kind of.
well, I wouldn't use tongue in cheek. I don't think he was being sarcastic. He may have been not saying what he thinks, but the fact is he said it. And I don't know. I'm taking it as a word that he meant it. Because I think in his rush to not be a conspiracy theorist, that makes sense. He went a little too far. I would say it's not absurd to think that Ukraine could be involved. We don't know that. This guy, Ryan Routh, had been to Ukraine a number of times. We'll talk about that more. So we know Ukraine tried to get Trump impeached for sure. We also know that the Ukrainian embassy, and I don't have the email handy, but I do have the email. Andrei Telezenko was ordered by his Ukrainian boss at the embassy to investigate Carter Page, okay, in May. Now, Carter Page didn't meet with Stefan Halper until like October. I mean, forgive me, July, I think. I think it's July. But Andre, why was he asked to, well, let me say this for the Patreon part, because
Yeah.
I'll talk
We're
about
almost
that.
there, actually. Yeah.
What's that?
We're almost ready to go over there, and we might as well do that now because this is a good break point. It's a strange thing that they asked him to do that, because why is an embassy for a foreign country engaging in essentially opposition research for a U.S. election? This is a pretty nice building, this Ukraine embassy here. But let's do this, Lee. We'll continue it on the sponsor exclusive segment. People are going to be able to join us. If you're not yet sponsoring Lee, please visit patreon.com/Stranahan. There's a lot of videos there about Ukraine, our interviews with Andrei Telizhenko, loads of stuff that Lee is doing. People can also join us if you're already sponsoring, or if you'd like to become a sponsor, on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and subscribestar.com, and patreon.com. Take us out, Lee.
And just to sell a cliffhanger a little bit more, on Patreon, I'll talk about what happened in May and June, and everyone watching will understand exactly why Andre was asked to do that in May. Everyone will have no doubt. So that's a cliffhanger.
I like it. All right, we'll be right back, everybody. Stay with us. Join us on Patreon and Subscribestar and Odyssey, and we'll be back in less than 5 minutes. Thanks for tuning in.